Hi everyone, how you guys doing? Madu Koga here, aka Hassan. So in this video, I want to do something a little bit different. I wanted to talk about my own native English accent or dialect. I think there's a like in the so-called polyglot community, there's a tendency to kind of ignore your own like native language, right? Especially when it's English, because it's overrated, um, and and taking it for granted, right? So I just saw, I'm a real curious person, so I was looking into, different English dialects around the world and within the United States especially. And I found out that I fall like my dialect would be classified as mid-Atlantic. So it's Baltimore, Philadelphia, southern New Jersey, like Trenton, and I don't know if it encompasses the rest of Pennsylvania as well, because I know like in Pittsburgh they speak a little different, but I think it's that whole general region. And my family is from Reading, Pennsylvania, and Baltimore, Maryland. And I lived in those places for practically all my life. And I've been out here in California. I've only been out here for 3 years, and it's interesting because when you're once you're away from it, it's like you notice it more, right? Like the saying goes, like the closer you are to something, like the harder you can see it, or in this case, hear it. So you get people telling you like, "Oh, you're not from here, are you? Like you're from the East Coast. You have an East Coast accent." And obviously the East Coast has a lot of different accents or dialects, right? Um, the ones that I'm most familiar with are New York and to a lesser extent Boston. And obviously my own Mid Atlantic. So with Boston, it's like I can recognize it definitely, but I can't really reproduce it that well. But for New York, it's like when I'm around New Yorkers for a long time, for long enough, like I'll pick it up. Um, so it's kind of interesting because I've been in I've been to New York City like a lot because visiting family and whatnot and friends. So I've been there, so I've been exposed to it a little bit more. Never really. I've only been to Boston maybe once. But yeah, it's interesting because there are some similarities, all three have, but there's differences too. Like I think the biggest difference is like New Yorkers, they don't pronounce like the R's at the end of the words, right? Whereas in the Mid Atlantic, we do pronounce the R's. Um, so what else? Like obviously, we say use guys, right? John, obviously that's a famous one. I saw this video recently about on YouTube, like how to speak like a Philadelphian or something like that. And I never lived in Philadelphia, like I never lived there, but I grew up in Reading, so it's very similar. Like I was reading those the words right that they had, and I was like, isn't that like just how you the normal way to pronounce it? I took it for granted that that was like that was the normal way of talking. So like I think on let's see what are some examples I had on there, like caramel, mayonnaise, is it orange syrup, um like library, forest, Atlantic City, Florida, bedroom, restaurant, um, like quarter, like give me a quarter, Mac machine, for the ATM, cup of coffee, like on, off, That's kind of like New York too. Mayor, lawyer, street, Tamara. You know, see you tomorrow. And I don't know. It was fun because it was like I just thought that was the normal way of pronouncing things. You know, and I think a lot of times as people who like to study a lot of different languages like me, we don't focus on our own native tongue. We kind of take it for granted just because for a lot of different reasons. Because when you grow up with something, you take it you get used to it, and I don't know, it gets boring. I guess you just think you don't really look that much deep into it, but you know, um, I gotta practice what I preach because I always tell that to people who speak native other native languages other than English. I tell them like how it's important that um it's always good to know. It has like every language has something to offer basically. So and the same goes with English. It's interesting. I guess it took me having to come here in California to figure that out and to recognize my own dialect, I guess, and kind of claim it. um but what else? I guess that's all. Yeah, by the way, not an Eagles fan, Steelers. just so you know. But yeah, it's interesting phenomenon really. The whole like the variety of different forms of English, especially on the East Coast of the United States. You know, um, but yeah, let me know if like any of my subscribers, if any of you all are from similar region. you know um I plan to do more videos like this where I get into different different aspects of the mid-Atlantic dialect, and maybe I'll get into like the New York dialect too as well. Even though my knowledge of it isn't as encompassing. But all right, guys, that's all. Thanks for viewing and subscribing, and feel free to leave your comments, and yeah, see you in the next video.